Greetings everyone, this is another audition, this time for Kankri Audition. Now, this audition is for PanelStuck, which is also going on during Anime Detour 2013, and I'll give these panelists the same rundown on my cosplay that I gave the other panelists I auditioned for. This is not my final Carcat or Kankri wig, this is actually my John wig. My new one should arrive promptly from Arda. My horns right now are being held together with sticky tack, because I had happened to misplace all of my screws and anchors at home, and I also ran out of hot glue. So if my horns fall off, or do something funky during the course of this audition, I apologize profusely. I think that should be it, besides the fact that my webcam quality is quite terrible, and I also apologize deeply for that, but I can't really do anything about it, it's the hand I was dealt. So, if you would like to watch my long-winded audition for Kankri Audition, you may do so. If you do not, you can always click the pause button and continue scrolling, or you can hit the X buttons on the corner of your screens. I've been told that they can be on either right or left. Also, they may take the form of a red circle if you're using a Apple product, but I'm not quite sure what that means. Now then, let's get this audition going. I'm trying out for a panel, which I am new to, and I'm not quite sure what they're all about, though I've heard that they are similar to an open forum discussion. Now, those can get tricky as it is lots of chaotic talking, and some people might be offended or hurt. In fact, even during my audition, I should probably list some possible triggers that I may talk about. Now, these are not limited to, but may contain oppression, culling, grub violence, lucis abuse, homophobia, pails, slurries, problematic power structures, toxicynist languages, ship sinking, struggles, ROM privileges, nasal privileges, ancestor bashing, shaming, swearing, torture, burns, post-spectral worlds, spectral blind societies, rude, shouting, swear words again, let's see here, I may discuss mutants, which is a very, very controversial topic to some, especially my ancestor. I know he gets quite upset whenever we bring up that topic for reasons unknown to me. I might discuss things like otherkin, but I may not, because I know that these are very, very touchy subjects. If I had missed any of these triggers, or if you feel that I did not cover any adequately enough, you may comment or reblog this post with your added suggestions, and I'll keep them in mind for the next time I'm speaking publicly. Let's see here. I'm kind of concerned about how this panel might be run, because the leader of which has already offended me by being tardy with the instructions for the auditioning process. I was told that these would be posted weeks ago, and we had just seen them only a few days ago. Now, I know that tardiness can't be blamed for everything. There may be personal problems and things that I am not aware of. However, I think that a responsible leader should be able to have such things posted, or a notice of said tardiness, and a prompt date of when we might be expecting such rules. But I am willing to forgo such things and put them behind me, because I've heard that this person is very well equipped at leading these panels, which I am new to. Now, I don't want to sound condescending or anything like that, but I just want to know that this person would be capable of leading a group such as ourselves. I mean, we can get kind of intense, for lack of a better word. I mean, I'm not the only one who's had in-depth arguments with the other teammates. I know that Porum likes to get quite vocal about her views and standards about such things like gender equality and treating the others of the same sexes, even though those can get rather long-winded and boring, but you know, they are important. And I know that Mituna can be quite offensive when he's not, well, when his brain isn't quite processing things correctly. I know it is not his fault, for he has several mental deficiencies that were brought on due to actions that are quite regrettable and events that are unfortunate and not his fault entirely. However, that might offend some viewers of this panel, and I'm very concerned that there might not be adequate warnings enough than just the brief description that there may or may not be strong language used during the course of these events. I just think that it would be rather unintelligible to go in blindly. Not to say that blindness should be, like, frightened or shamed. That is not what I'm going for at all. I just feel that a panel such as this with characters such as ourselves might need to be taken a bit more seriously, and I think that we should have a large list of things that we might be going over and topics that may or may not be covered. That way, if anyone gets squeamish or offended, they might be able to summon a Moriel or other such person, perhaps an auspicious if a Moriel cannot be obtained, or they could leave the room before they get triggered to the point where they might have a breakdown. This might be hard to do if you don't have a Moriel, which I completely understand. I get that things happen and quadrants fall apart, and wow, that's a whole nother rant for a whole nother day. But I think that it would be very important if these demands, not really demands, I don't want to be demanding, I mean, I'm not a leader, oh no, no, no. I just purely make suggestions. Yes, if these suggestions were to be heeded, that would be very great, and I would feel much, much better about participating in such an event as a panel. Moving on, it appears that I have some questions that I have to answer. Let's take a look at these now, shall we? It seems that the first question is, what fandom do you participate in the most? Well now, I have something against fandoms, and I know that some people might think that this is silly, but I find fandoms to be quite offensive, to be quite frank. In fact, the only way to not get offended is by simply not participating in one at all. I've seen the shipping wars get quite intense, and feelings are typically hurt over and over and over again. Now, I know that it is not okay to blame one for, or to blame many for the actions of one, but I've even gone around and I've heard that people ship real people, which I think can get very, very offensive and very, very controversial. In fact, I've even heard that there's a certain green-blooded troll girl that is going around shipping even us, which, if I found her, I'd like to sit her down and have a very lengthy discussion about why these things are not tolerable and why she should cease doing such actions immediately. For it might be very, very rude and even offensive to some who have just have difficult quadrant breakups and whatnot. As far as fandoms as a whole go, they can be quite untamed and unorganized, and they're not really my thing. I prefer to stand on the sidelines and quietly judge others for what they feel is right or what they enjoy. Let's see here. The next question I have is, what is something you would like to have done while you were alive? Or, if you are auditioning for someone who is still alive, if you knew that you were going to die tomorrow, what would you make sure you would do? Now, see, this is the problem I had when I first heard of these auditions. I knew that no matter what questions were asked, something would offend or possibly trigger another troll. Now, death is a very touchy subject, and I don't think that it is right to be questioning one's morality, especially if a poor soul happens to be straddling the two sides between living and dead. Now, that is not something that we should be going into. That is quite personal, and could very well offend the other panelists that may audition. The topic of death, and especially one's death, such as ours, I mean, I seem to recall being blown up, which is very, very touching, very personal, and that's something that probably should be avoided at all costs when talking to others. I mean, you don't just walk up to someone and ask, hey, how did you die? Or, hey, how was your life, before all this stuff happened to you, what did you like to do? What are your regrets? Do you regret anything? Now, regrets are a very touchy subject, too. I know that I regret a lot, and so do others that I know. But it is not our place to ask or judge based on what we deem regrettable in a past life. But if I have to answer, because this is an audition and I've been told that these questions must be answered at all costs, then I suppose that something I would have liked to have done before I died was admit something personal to a couple trolls that I would like to think I'm close to, but I have drifted because of what I've become. It is not my fault I am this way, though I can't put all of the blame on society itself. The coddling of young in our society of before us is regrettable, and it does create a social stigma, especially among those of lower castes or special castes such as myself. This has caused me to have quite a terrible, terrible habit of ranting about things that many people do not care about. In fact, most of my friends now grow weary whenever I walk by, and they kind of fear what I might say whenever I open my mouth. And if I had to do something different, I might just go to a past me and tell them to just stop, because it's not needed and it's not necessary, and quite frankly, it's offensive. I can get out of hand, and if I had to do something, I would have admitted my feelings before my feelings became a joke or something to be laughed at by the rest of my friends. And I guess that's answering all of the questions, and if you have any more for me, you can always drop me a line. I would just really, really like to make sure that my concerns are made clear and that this panel will be run smoothly and without, bumps in the road, figuratively, and that no one gets offended or storms out angry or displeased after the panel is finished. But we can discuss more of that on another time. Thank you for listening, and have a nice night, or morning depending on your time zone.